Hi, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com, and today we are making 3-corn polenta. Now make sure you check the blog today. There's kind of an amusing little anecdote there about polenta. But anyway, there's my polenta, which is just a coarsely ground cornmeal, and it's used to make kind of a cornmeal mush, which is an Italian side dish. Very delicious, but we're going to kind of jazz it up a little bit here. So I have 3 ears of fresh corn, which I'm going to just shear off the kernels with my nice sharp knife. Now be careful here. See, it's very, very fibrous near the cob. So I'm just taking off just a couple rows at a time. I'm taking off like the top 2/3. Don't get too close, because what we're going to do is when we're done, I'm going to take the back of the knife. See, I'm just scraping down, and that's going to get all the rest of the flesh and the juice out of there, and it will leave all that fibrous cobby stuff behind. Okay? So there's our 1.5 cups of freshly, I don't know what the term is. It's not shucked, is it? Maybe it is shucked. I thought that was taking the green stuff off. Anyway, I took the kernels off the cob with a knife. I can't remember what that's called. All right, in a saucepan here, I'm going to do a teaspoon of butter and a teaspoon of olive oil. And I'm going to add, not all of it, I'm just going to add a cup of my corn, which is 2/3 of the amount of corn you have. And we're going to saute that in the olive oil and the butter for about 10 minutes. Okay. Now what I'm going to do here, and why this is called 3-corn. 1 corn is going to be the ground cornmeal. 1 corn is going to be the sauteed corn, and then we're going to put some fresh corn at the end. So to the sauteing corn, I'm going to add some salt. It's about a 1/2 teaspoon, and a good shake of red pepper. You can use any pepper you want. I like cayenne in this. And on medium-low heat, I'm just going to saute this for about 8-10 minutes. I don't want a dark brown on it. I want to just kind of get a little bit golden. It'll bring out the sugars in the corn. So you can see some of that starch and the sugars start to caramelize onto the bottom. All right, so just be careful of that. I don't want anything burning here. So nice, like I say, low to medium heat's good. And that's just about right. Now before we add our water, and before I explain the proportions of polenta to water, what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of garlic. All right, I'm going to put in maybe a 1 large or 2 small cloves crushed. I use my garlic press, but you can chop it if you want. It's going to cook in, this cooks for about 20 minutes to a half hour anyway. So we're going to put in a clove of garlic and just give that about a 1-2 minute saute on that low heat. And now we're going to add 2 cups of water, okay? Because I had a 1/2 cup of raw polenta, all right, the ground cornmeal, I'm going to do 2 cups of water, which is traditional kind of 4-to-1 water to polenta ratio. And I'm going to bring that up to a simmer. And as soon as it starts to simmer, I'm going to just shake in the 1/2 cup of polenta, stirring with my whisk. Now some people use cornmeal for this, which I think is a lot harder to work with. It makes a really fine grain polenta, but it actually lumps up very easily. So try to find the real Italian polenta. Now once you have that in there and it comes to a simmer, all right, you're going to turn it back down to low. And you don't have to stand there whisking this the entire time, but you should stir it pretty steadily until it starts to thicken up, okay? At that point, I'm going to turn and make sure the heat's on low, and I'm going to simmer that for 20 minutes. You notice I switched to a spatula. Now what I'm really supposed to be using is a long wooden spoon, because that is the traditional polenta stirring utensil. And I know there's some Italian grandmas out there watching this video saying, how come he's not using a long wooden spoon? See, that's my Italian grandmother accent. By the way, yes, I did notice that light and color shift there. That was the sun's fault. Now after 20 minutes, you'll see that got nice and thick. I'm going to adjust the water here. I'm going to add another 1/2 cup of water, so that's 2.5 cups altogether for me. You may or may not have to adjust at that point, but about 20 minutes in is a good time to figure out, is it getting too dry? Is it, just right? So for me, I needed another 1/2 cup of water. I'm going to cook this for another 10 minutes. So that was a half hour altogether cooking time. And then to finish, very simple. We're going to add another teaspoon of butter and the other 1/2 cup of our fresh corn. And we're just going to stir that in. Now that corn I don't really want cooked. See, that corn I want kind of crunchy and sweet, just like corn on the cob. So I'm just going to stir that in for a minute or two. I'm going to turn off the heat. Okay. I'm going to cover this. And what we're going to do is we're just going to let that sit for 5 minutes. See, I waved to you. All right, so cover and let sit for 5 minutes, and then basically you're done. and you have a delicious, delicious side dish or main course for you vegetarians. And again, the three kinds of corn: the ground corn, of course, the corn that I sauteed and cooked into the dish, and then the fresh corn I put in with the butter at the end. There's so much heat in that polenta that that corn you put in at the end will be not totally raw. It'll kind of cook in that hot polenta, which really, really retains the heat. In fact, like I said, if it splashes up on you, you'll know how hot it is. And I'm just going to serve that in a bowl like this as a side dish to some grilled food, which I have not determined yet. For vegetarians, this is an amazing base if you wanted to put that underneath some grilled vegetables or a mushroom ragu. Polenta is just a really versatile and delicious dish. I mean, and by the way, if you can boil water, literally, you can make this dish. So it's very easy. And anyway, as usual, check me out at the site, get the full story, and I hope you give this a try. Enjoy.